here. We are just getting ready to start the very first meeting for 2022 for the Summit County Safety Council. So just give us a minute as we bring everybody back. Just so you know, we try to do some networking at the beginning of the meeting. So you're welcome to jump on at 11:30, 11:40, 11:45, and we stick you in a room with a couple people and you guys get to talk about, like today, folks were just doing a little networking and talking about what their goals were for 2022. So we've got a few more seconds till everybody is back, but we've got quite a few of you joining in here. Hopefully you're seeing my screen that's showing the network question. All right, looks like everybody is back now. So that is good to go. So let's see, just to run through my slides real quick. Welcome everybody to the first meeting for 2022. You all know the date, so we're good there. And get my slides to jump through. You know, just make sure your mic's on mute. You can leave your cameras on if you want. We have not been having any problems with bandwidth, so feel free to leave your cameras on as long as you know your camera's on. So keep an eye on that one. If you are going to leave your cameras on, that's okay. Note where the chat is. Usually you can find the chat down at the bottom. So if you have questions, go ahead and type that in the chat as we go, and we'll have Dr. Aubree answer that as we go. I'm going to turn it over to Kim for just a minute, and she's going to talk about all the awesome stuff you guys did for our charity challenge. Are you there, Kim? Don't hear you if you're muted. I might be talking about all the stuff you did for your charity challenge.
Oh my goodness gracious, I must have muted when I came back over. Sorry about that. So
hi guys, you're good.
Hi gang, it's Kim. Good, it's Kim from your wellness committee. Just as a reminder, last November we announced our new wellness challenge would be a charity challenge. Summit County Safety Council was going to donate $10 to the Akron-Canton Regional Food Bank for every individual, family, or company that made a donation of their time, talents, items, food, or funds. All you had to do was send an email to Sally saying, I did it, or we did it, and the name of your favorite charity. Next slide. And you guys did it. We got lots of emails. You provided shelter, clothing, food. You supported tots, battered women, our elderly, and foster kids. You supported big brothers and big sisters. You supported Akron's youth, and you supported those in health crisis, whether for themselves or a family member. And the results are in. On behalf of all of you, the awesome, incredibly generous members of Summit County Safety Council, we are sending a check for $650 to the Akron-Canton Regional Food Bank. I want to thank everybody for their participation and say just great job. You guys did awesome. Thanks, Carrie.
Awesome. Thank you, Kim. Good job. And I hope since we had allotted a little bit more than that, we're talking about maybe doing something else in July with what we had hoped we would spend the rest, but still 65, that's 65 individual people emailing Sally or Kim and saying that they made a difference doing something. So good job. I'm really proud of you guys. And, even in this virtual world where we may feel a little disconnected, you guys have really connected, and that is a very good thing. So that being said, just to go over a couple of the BWC updates and a couple things that I have. For those of you that I don't know, my name is Carrie Gray. I am the BWC safety consultant that works with your council. I have lots of Summit County, but there may also be Deb Bailey or Nick Koya that services parts of Summit County. But we're all here to help you, and we're doing it virtually for the most part. On occasion, we do go out and we're still doing some assessments and some little bit of training and some walkthroughs. and, you know, different things like that. If it's just like a program review, we can do that virtually. And so now we have the tools to do that a lot better than we did. So we are here, and we're here for you. So if you guys need something, don't ever hesitate to reach out, and we can help you through it. Now, the Bureau is putting on a bunch of webinars, and you can see I'm actually helping with the record keeping one tomorrow, but we have our record keeping one at the end of the month too. So if you can't get enough of record keeping, hey, you can join any of them that you're interested in. We have some more webinars that are coming up. You can see those at the bottom there. And you guys know that Sally puts those, you know, religiously in the newsletter. So just make sure that you're always checking the newsletter. If you ever don't get the newsletter, or you feel like you got knocked off the distribution list, all you ever got to do is send Sally an email and she'll add you on. Or if you have a new person or anything like that, it's always good to make sure that they're getting that. The BWC has a bunch of classes. These are still virtual. Hopefully after the new program year, in addition to hopefully starting councils, we'll also be able to start some in-person classes. So know that that is still the works, but there's still a lot of virtual classes that you have available to you. Now, with the fun that we had Monday, snow and ice, walking and being outside is definitely a big issue. Hopefully nobody slipped, tripped, or fell, but we do have a newer micro training video on walking and working in the snow and ice and how to stay safe doing that. It's under 5 minutes. All the micro videos are under 5 minutes. I know some folks are sharing it with all their folks, and that's what they're using to do like a little refresher training. That's an option. These are all out there on YouTube. In addition to that, we have sample programs and toolbox talks and streaming videos. And I mean, you know the drill. I say it every month. So this is the virtual webinar that I talked about. Just like last year, we're doing an open house. So I'm going to talk for a little bit about record keeping, and then we're going to take questions. If you have logs and you want me to look over them before you post them or submit them, feel free to email me those logs. There's no problem there. I can always look over it and send back and make my recommendations, even if you can't come to that. So don't worry if you can't come to that. Of course, it's a free webinar. A couple other councils are invited, and it's not going to be as in-depth as the 2 hour that we used to do in person, just because, man, you don't want to listen to me talk for 2 hours on record keeping on a webinar, right? So we can we can still get you the information though, and I can always look over your stuff as needed. Just keep in mind, we are taking a little break from the OSHA Top 10 topics this month. We're giving you a breather, but we're starting back with hazard communication in February. So we're going to finish out the OSHA Top 10 topics, and those came out, I said that last month, for last year, and they're pretty similar, but a little bit has changed. Now, your networking question was around goals, and I really, really encourage you, one, to set personal goals, and two, to make sure you're setting work goals. Okay, work goals for yourself. One of the most common things that I see in safety professionals is we're wearing so many hats. We're doing so many things, and all we do is put out the, hopefully, proverbial fire. We never have the chance to truly work on the program or work on our development or implement something new at the facility. And all you're going to do is respond to those fires unless you very intentionally make it one of your goals. So make sure you're setting SMART goals. If you don't know what that means, hit me up and we can talk about it. If you don't know what kind of safety goals to set for you or your company, shoot me an email. We can talk about it. We can help you figure that out. But if you don't ever set up the goals, you're not going to get any further than just dealing with the day-to-day. So it's really important that you do that. All right. I mentioned this at the very beginning. We're doing networking at the beginning of every meeting. So feel free to join us at 11:30, 11:40, 11:45. We'll put you in a group. You can talk with a couple other folks, just like at the meetings where we had, not just like, because we don't get the food, but similar to the meetings where you got to sit around a table and you got to talk to the folks at your table about what's going on. So that's what we're working on. All right, so what you're all waiting for, hopefully I didn't stress you out too much, but if I did, Dr. Aubree is going to help us figure out what the heck we're supposed to do about it. I'm really excited. If you guys remember the wellness conference that we had a couple of years ago, Dr. Aubree attended there, and then the Portage County Safety Council found her, and then she's been speaking. They've been stealing her a lot. So now we're going to get to hear from her because she's graced the other council so much. We're really excited. So if you could, I would really appreciate, go down to the bottom, and you have reactions at the bottom of your screen. So we want everybody to give a warm Summit County Safety Council round of applause or thumbs up. Just hit the little emoji. Look at all those people clapping for you. And I will turn it over to you. Dr. Aubree, you are still on mute, so you'll probably want to undo that. And
Yep.
I can now see your slides.
Thank you. Sorry, I was trying to figure out my screens again. I'm terrible at that, but I'm Dr. Aubree Brachna. I'm a chiropractor in Fairlawn. I've been practicing there for, I think it's over 6 years now, which is crazy because it seems like I just started there. Currently I'm on maternity leave because I just had a baby. And so they wrangled me in to do a lecture, which is nice to get to brush up on my talking, I think, instead of just speaking baby for a little bit. So one of the things that we're going to talk about today is stress and how you manage your stress. Typically around the holidays is when a lot of people start freaking out a little bit more. They start eating really bad. They don't exercise. So it's perfect going into the new year, kind of having a different mentality and things that you can do, to make yourselves healthier and to get better. That's most people's goals. I wasn't in any of those rooms, but a lot of people, when they say, what is your goal for the year? It's, oh, I'm going to eat better. I'm going to exercise. I want to do that. All of those things typically seem like they're goals for people. So hopefully this lecture helps you guys. If you have any questions, ask. But that's really what I'm here for. And so I'd like to give you guys something that you can take away, whether it's one thing or 10 things, something that you can take away that will help you reach your goals, potentially, if that's your goal for this year, of getting a little healthier. And stress is a huge, huge, huge reason why people struggle sometimes with reaching their goals. One thing we like to talk about is what your body is meant to be like. And people laugh at this when I say your body's supposed to be healthy. Me as a chiropractor, I'm one of those weird hippies that thinks that yes, you should be healthy, you should be eating good, you should do organic, you should exercise, you should, all of those things you should do. We do that. And I think that is normal. If you're taking a prescription medicine, something's going on. If you are not exercising, something's going on. If you are 100 pounds overweight, something's going on. Your body's not as capable as it should be. With everything going on these last 2 years, with COVID, they just came out and said that obesity is the biggest risk factor for having problems when you get COVID. And that's a huge part of being healthy. And, why am I talking about weight when it comes to stress? That's something that stresses your body physically is, being overweight or smoking or just like everything else. So I want to start with that point where your body is designed to be healthy. And that's, that's where it functions optimally. And so when we talk about stress, it's reducing some of that stress so that your body can be healthier. That's what's normal for us. And your body's really smart to be able to do that. It knows how to heal itself. If you get a cut, you never have to tell your cut to heal. It does it on its own. If you, eat something, your body knows how to digest food. It's very, very smart in what it does. And this shows a picture of a sperm eating an egg. Dr. Jeremiah in the office loves this picture. I just lived through that of having a baby, making a baby and having a baby. And I didn't have to do literally almost nothing to make that baby. My body knew exactly what it was supposed to do, which is just amazing to me. And so your body's very smart. But when we look at when people start struggling, it is typically around the holidays. Those last couple of months leading up to Christmas, to New Year's, everyone talks about cold and flu season. It's not a season. It's when people start eating really poorly and they do sugar regularly and they drink more alcohol than they should and they miss that workout and they're stressed with work. They're stressed with buying presents. They're stressed with blah, blah, blah. All of these things just keep coming at us. And it's a big reason why people see that they get sick during the holidays, during winter time in general. and this is just looking at about 30 years or so worth of cardiac deaths, and they all spike right around the holidays, which is just crazy. So this is perfect timing for a stress lecture, in my opinion. But so where does stress come from? We typically talk about 3 different types. So one, mental stresses, psychological stresses, thoughts, anxiety, things that affect us mentally. What's going on between your ears is a 24/7, almost, unless you're sleeping, 24/7 process. It's something that's going on all the time. And if your thoughts are negative, if you're stressing about this, if you're thinking about money, if you're thinking about kids, if you're thinking about what are you going to do for dinner, if you're thinking about all of these things, those can constantly affect your body and stress your body. It's one way or the other. People that are pessimistic, people that are optimistic. What your thoughts do definitely affect who you are and what your body does. And then we talk about physical stresses. So physical stresses are everything we do every day to our body. How you sit, sitting in a chair right now. Are you slouching? Are you sitting up straight? Are you crossing your legs? Are you leaning to one side? How do you sleep? Have you ever had car accidents? Have you ever had injuries? All of those things are physical stresses, and they build up every single day too. And then we also talk about chemical stresses. So chemical stresses, I think, are the ones that most people don't actually think about. It's ones not a lot of people consider. People definitely consider an injury or, money, house, kids, car, whatever, stresses go on between your ears. People think about those physical stresses and those mental stresses a lot. Not a lot of people think about the chemical stresses. And chemical stresses sometimes, I think, are worse than any of the other ones. It's what you put into your body and put on your body and what you're surrounded with. We always wear clothes most of the time. What laundry detergent are you using? Does it have chemicals in it? What lotions are you using? What toothpaste are you using? Are you eating organic food? Are you eating food that's covered with pesticides? All of those things add up all the time as to what you're putting inside your body. So chemical stresses are a big one, and they come from literally everywhere. So it's something you guys can start thinking about too. And so when we talk about stress, what does it actually do to your body? Stress is whatever type it is, think it's a chemical stress, or think it's a physical stress, or you think it's a mental stress. All 3 of those affect your body in the exact same way. So with a stressor, whether it's you're being chased by a shark or you just, stubbed your toe, something affected your body and your body is going to respond. And so those responses look very similar for all of those things. You have whatever it is, that threat or that stimulus, and you get certain stress hormones released. Those stress hormones like glucocorticoids, adrenaline, cortisol, insulin, all of those things can affect your body in negative ways. But if it's something that's very acute, meaning that it was just once, it only happened one time, your body should be able to recover from it. So you get stress hormones released, you get put in that fight or flight physiology. So, our ancestors, this was where we started saying fight or flight. If some animal was chasing them, they had to run away or they had to fight it. And that is a stress response. And so same thing for them. For them as for us, your blood pressure increases, your heart rate increases, blood sugar gets released, fats get released into your bloodstream, your clotting factors go up, your eyes dilate, your muscles contract, your breathing increases, vision sharpens, all of these things right through here. And that is to be able to make you have a better decision as to what you should do, whether you should fight or whether you should flee. And either way, you need those responses in your body. It's going to happen if you are mentally stressed. It's going to happen if you are physically stressed. It's going to happen if you get exposed to chemicals. All of those things will constantly happen to every single stress. And that's what people don't necessarily understand with mental stress. It's what they don't necessarily understand with physical stresses or chemical stresses, is that these processes happen every single time you are exposed to one of those three things. And where I think a lot of people actually have noticed this in the past is how stress affects their immune system. How many of you guys have been stressed before and you've gotten sick? Or if you've ever gotten really, really sick and you think about it, you probably were very stressed out in the couple weeks prior to that. And so when we see stress happen, it downregulates all of the factors that keep our body healthy, that keep us fighting, internal things, bacteria, viruses. We decrease our immunoglobulin A, you downregulate your digestion, you downregulate your reproduction, your immune system function tanks, and it's multiple things that your body doesn't actually need at a time of a fight or a flight. And so what happens if that's just one time? Great, body recovers. It's like nothing ever happened. But what happens when it's a long-term thing? So what happens when you have multiple stresses every single day, every single hour of every single day for a week? Those processes are going to be really hard to recover from. You're going to have a hard time getting out of that fight or flight. You're going to have a hard time getting your immune system to function. You're going to have a hard time with your blood sugars. You're going to have a hard time with your blood fats. You're going to have a hard time with blood pressure. You're going to have a hard time with, all of these things that constantly get dinged every time you have a stress. And so what if that turns into a year of chronic stress or 10 years? If you've worked for 20 years at a stressful job, what is that going to do to your body? Most people notice it. I can't tell you how many patients I have that they come into my office at the end of the day and they are incredibly tight, adjust poorly, versus the beginning of the day or like the end of the week almost, where they're not as stressed from work and they adjust great. Their body's nice and loose. And there's a big difference. And I'm sure most of you have noticed that before, that if you're stressed out, something feels tight or something feels off and you just don't feel right. And so, yes, Dr. Aubree, look at all of these things that happen. Yes, I'm chronically stressed. What do I do about it, right? What do you do when these things become the norm for you? Which I think for probably 100% of the world over these last 2 years, stress has been a daily thing for people in multiple different areas, not just physical, not just mental, but all three. So one thing that we'll talk about just for a second, this slide really, I like this slide the most because it kind of explains a lot of chronic disease that people see. Diabetes, blood sugar issues, blood pressure issues, fat issues, and not just like belly fat that this says on here. But if you are getting this constant fight or flight and you guys have the blood lipids and blood sugars constantly being released, but they're not actually being used, sugar and fat in your bloodstream sticks. And that's a huge reason why we see a lot of people with, heart disease, cardiovascular diseases, extra stuff sticking in their arteries. The elevated cortisol that we see through here too. Cortisol is one of those fight or flight physiologies. Cortisol, if it's elevated, can cause a lot of problems with sleep. And a lot of people notice this because if you are one of those people that wakes up at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., you most likely, and I say most likely, with like a 90-some% most likely, you have a problem with your cortisol. So if you're waking up between 2 and 4 every single night or most nights, you have a cortisol issue. Cortisol peaks, and a lot of times people think about melatonin to help them sleep. Oh, try melatonin. Melatonin can help some people. If it helped you for a couple days and then it didn't do anything, it's your cortisol. You can do different supplements that help manage your cortisol as well. But what happens when you're stressed out and you can't sleep? Everything gets worse. Your immune system gets worse. Your digestion gets worse. Your sleeping gets even worse. Your skin gets worse. Every system in your body struggles. And so that's why I like talking about this. With that sustained or that chronic exposure to stress, we can start understanding why people have chronic disease, diabetes, blood pressure issues, heart issues. And so dealing with your stress is a great way to deal with a lot of underlying problems for the majority of Americans. So we're not really going to talk about reduction. Yes, reduce your stress. I have had patients that I have told to quit their job because they've tried everything else. Not just quit your job and be a bum, but quit your job and find something else that you actually enjoy. I have this one lady that I told her quit her job, open an ice cream shop because it's something she would like to do. But you got to find something that helps you manage your stress. And when I say manage, most people look to alcohol. They say, okay, I had a hard day. I'm going to have a beer. I'm going to have a glass of wine. That makes the problem worse. There's different things you can do that help you manage stress and help your body recover. And so that's what you really want to look at is how do I let my body recover from the things that it's getting attacked by? And so all of these stresses and everything. Yes, you can try to reduce the thoughts that you have. You can try to reduce how much stressful thinking you actually have going on. I don't know how successful people will be because you're constantly exposed to these things. One of the easiest things to limit is your toxins. And we'll get to that and we'll talk about that. But we just kind of talked about this where chronic stress can cause disease. Mastering your response. If something stressful happens, what do you instantly say? Do you have that first response of maybe a 4-letter word that you say in your response to something bad? We're gonna try not to do that, guys. I think a big thing is giving people the benefit of the doubt or just taking a deep breath and letting it go. Most things don't affect us, I think, the way that we think they do. In my opinion, if something's not harming me or somebody else, then it's not that big of a deal. And you look at me, you look at my husband, I am much more of an optimist. He is much more of a pessimist. And so, we have these disputes every single day of that's not a big deal, or it actually is. But mastering your response to certain things, if you can, is great. When we talk about, I just said, if you're stressed out and you get home and you reach for a glass of wine, there's those days that everyone does that, but it shouldn't be a normal thing for you. You want to try to have a schedule. You want to try to have something that is, every single day you have this set certain amount of things that you do when you get home from work, whether that's you go to the gym, you exercise, you get home, you make a good dinner, you eat, you try to stay off of your phone. You just veg for a little bit. Maybe that's what helps you de-stress. But a big thing is going to bed at the same time every night. They've shown that sleeping at the same time helps regulate your hormones much better than if you go to bed at 11 and then 9 and then midnight and then 10:30. You want to try to do something that's very set schedule. And then also staying off of your electronics. People are starting to do these blue light glasses. These are one of my husband's Christmas presents. The blue light filtering glasses are supposed to help filter out some of the light we get from screens that can affect the wavelengths in our brain that help us not sleep as good. Luckily I'm not typically on a computer very much, so I don't have to worry about it, but my husband works from home and he's constantly on a computer. And so we got him blue light glasses. I got him this, this is the mat, the mouse mat, and it's a grounding mat. And so it's supposed to help ground him and take him away from some of these like EMFs and constant electrical forces he's getting from screens. But there's certain things that you want to do to wind yourself down for the night so that you are able to get the best rest possible. Going to bed at the same time. When you wake up, you can set your phones to like a gradual alarm. So it's not just that instant noise. It's something that slowly wakes you out of your sleep. Imagine your first thing you wake up to every day is a brr, brr, brr alarm. You are going to first thing in the morning have a fight or flight stress response. And that is not the best way how to start the day. another thing, the gratitude, thank you. A lot of people are starting to do gratitude journals. I think it's amazing. I think it's awesome. But having your rituals, whether that's stretching in the morning, whether that's exercising, something that you do every single morning again, just like when you go to bed, those schedules really help regulate our hormones. They help our body stay on track. With mornings, I know it's hard for some people to wake up on the weekends. You want to try to wake up at the same time every day, even on the weekends, because again, it can affect your hormones if you're not on the set schedule. So I don't know. I don't think there's any questions so far. Just a comment. So with the chronic stress, we talked about this before of how it causes diseases. The thoughts, I think, are the hardest thing to control. These help somewhat. Toxins are a big one that we can eliminate. And so I'll probably talk about these the most. But toxins are a lot of times people, what people don't think of. Yes, you can think of smoking as a toxin. Yes, you can think of alcohol as a toxin. That's what most people consider bad for them. But what about if we talk about what everything that is bad for your body? High fructose corn syrup. So any form of refined sugar is terrible for you. If you go into your pantry after this, I guarantee almost everything in a pantry, refined processed foods has some form of sugar or processed sugar in it. And it's amazing at what the labeling can happen, what the nutrition labels can say. Sometimes they don't even have to say that they put some refined sugars in. But high fructose corn syrup, your body doesn't even know what to do with it. If you look at sugar is a 6 carbon, so there's 6 spots on sugar. Your body, when you digest it, knows what to do with it. It knows how to break it down. Most refined sugars like corn syrup solids, brown rice syrup, whatever it is, are 5 sugar rings or 5 carbon rings. I'm sorry. So it's like taking something that fits in a keyhole, but your body doesn't know how to open the door. When you take a 5 carbon sugar, your body almost instantly stores it. And so all of those high fructose corn syrup, solids, everything that are processed sugars, your body almost instantly makes it stored in your body. And then you look at why, or maybe you're getting a little bit of belly fat, or why can't you lose those extra 5 pounds or 10 pounds? Look at some of the ingredients that you're eating foods with. Refined carbs, same thing. Most of the processed foods that we have are refined, they're broken down, and they're terrible for us. Even oatmeal. Oatmeal in itself should be pretty hearty, should be pretty whole. There's a shell that covers the actual oatmeal, what we think of it, that has fiber, that has nutrients, that has good stuff in it. When you process that down and you get instant oats or instant grits or instant whatever, it takes off that shell and everything nutritious gets thrown away. And what you're left with is that middle part that really is just carbohydrates. There's nothing necessarily beneficial about some of these refined products. So if you look at that to everything, tortilla chips, you look at it to breads that are made, in a store, you look at it to everything processed. Most of those refined carbs are terrible for you. And a lot of times they're processed and added into refined sugars. So then you take something that's not nutrient dense and it's just kind of sugary, your body stores it instantly, which are just terrible for you. And all those things stress your body. Dairy, I will talk about dairy just for a second. Some people are lactose intolerant. Some people are not. Dairy is a certain type of casein that for every human is inflammatory to your mucous membranes. And so mucous membranes literally go from your mouth, your nose, all the way to your butt, everything through your intestines. And so with this type of casein that cow's dairy has, and I guess I should have said that, cow's dairy, you will have a little bit of inflammation every time you ingest it. Especially when it's processed milk, when it's, everything you buy in a store. Personally, at our house, we get raw cow's milk because it's shown that if it's raw, it actually has bacteria in the milk that helps break down some of those, breaks down the type of casein that is inflammatory to our body. But that's our personal preference. Cow's milk has the casein 19. Sheep's and goat's milk doesn't necessarily have that casein in it. And so it's not going to be as inflammatory to the mucous membranes. So it's a great alternative. With people now switching to almond milk, coconut milk, whatever else, soy milk, a lot of times those are processed with additives that are really bad for us. We get cans. So I get cans of organic coconut milk. That's just the coconut, just the liquid from an actual coconut. It doesn't have anything added to it. It doesn't have any sugar added into it. And if we do get almond milk or something, we're making sure we're getting organic and doesn't have any of the additives that are terrible for us. Excitotoxins. With the excitotoxins, these are certain things that are added into food, like sucralose, artificial sweeteners, aspartame, MSG. These things are added into foods to make them taste better to us. So they excite our taste buds, they excite our brains, and make us think that what we're eating is so good, and make us keep wanting more. Most processed foods have some sort of excitotoxin in them. Natural flavoring is now an excitotoxin. They changed how you can label foods. And so if you look at a box of like cheese crackers and it says naturally flavored, that is an excitotoxin most likely. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes they actually are flavored with whole foods and, certain good things. But a lot of times they are bad for you and they make us want more. What that does to your brain, though, your brain has a positive response is what you think, but it actually has a negative response. It affects dopamine. It affects a lot of neuroreceptors in your brain that are detrimental to us. Trans fatty acids and bad oils. Eat your fats. So fats are really good for us. Animal fats, great for our bodies. Seeds, not as great, but still good. And then everything else like palm oil. Palm oil is probably one of the worst processed foods we could ever eat. All of the things that are poor fats, you want to eliminate those completely. And as I'm saying these things, if you guys are thinking, wow, how the heck am I going to do that? Or that there's no way that somebody could do that. Yes, there is. You don't do it anymore. But if you do eat a lot of this stuff, try cutting one thing out. Shoot for one thing. If you know that you love Doritos and you shouldn't do them, but you also do dairy and you also do, poor oils and you also do a bunch of sugar, get rid of the Doritos and you made a huge change for your body. Or if you want to say, all right, I'm not going to do processed dairy for a week, 2 weeks and see how I feel. Great. That's an amazing change. You don't have to do every single thing that I'm mentioning in here. You don't have to, eliminate all of these toxins all the time. But the more you get rid of and the more toxins that you keep out of your body, the better your body is going to respond to stress. And so we talked about most of these, but ways you can change your diet for good. Breads, grains, cereals, sugars, anything that's processed and that you did not make at home, you want to try to eliminate it. Reduce or remove the dairy or try something that's less processed. Add grass-fed meats and wild caught fish, game. We were talking a little bit before about hunting for deer and raising chickens. And when people do that on their own, most of the time the meat, the eggs are very good for you because you know what they're fed. There's a difference between eggs raised on corn versus eggs that get to eat bugs. The colors are just amazing, the difference. Grass-fed meats are very, very high in the omegas that you want. The omega-3 6 balance is perfect. When you get something that's more like corn-fed, grain-fed meats, the meat gets really poor and the omegas actually become inflammatory in them. So if you've ever been at a grocery store looking at a case of meat, there's like grass-fed steaks or regular steaks. Those regular steaks are almost very pale and the grass-fed steaks are really dark. That's good meat. That's what you want. You want that dark, dark, dark meat on most things. Again, with the eggs get very, very dark. The yolks are almost like red. The color gets really dark when it's good fats. Add in fruits and vegetables. Colorful is, the more color, the better. And then add some supplementation if you need to. This is straightforward. This is something people have probably told you a million times. Get rid of refined stuff, get rid of dairy, add in good meats, good eggs, good that, add in the fruits and the vegetables. Try to do it organic when you can, because non-organic fruits and vegetables are sprayed with pesticides like crazy, and you can't wash them off. There's Dirty Dozens list. If you guys are on your phone right now, search Dirty Dozen food, and I'm going to do it with you. Which it's probably not going to show me or show my screen. But if I search Dirty Dozen food, it'll bring up a list of food that is the worst for you, ranked by pesticides. And so what I am seeing, here's this, celery, peach, strawberry, spinach, tomatoes, pears. It changes every single year based off of what foods are different when. But when you talk about the Dirty Dozen or the Clean 15, the Dirty Dozen are fruits that you can't really wash anything off of. It's going to get stuck in there. And then the Clean 15 are typically foods that you don't necessarily have to do organic, but it's better if you do, because you're still going to get some pesticides, chemicals absorbed into the fruit and into the vegetables. And then add supplementation. And so again, if your diet doesn't look very good, change one thing. Maybe instead of getting the conventional eggs you always do, get the organic, free range, eat their own food eggs, or get them from somebody local that sells them, because they're most likely much better. Or just add in an extra serving of vegetables every single day. Just switch something and see how it affects your body. With the supplementation, strawberries, spinach, kale, nectarines, most of the things that are top 4, sorry, I'm looking at the chat, that are top for the Dirty Dozen are things that don't have shells on them. They have nothing covering them. So if you think of like in your corn, you can peel off a bunch of layers of it, and what's inside isn't really going to be directly sprayed. Whereas strawberries, they're going to be directly sprayed with something because nothing's protecting them. But so with supplements, you don't want to think about replacing your diet with supplements. You want to add into your diet with supplements. So if you know that in the winter in Ohio, we do not get the amount of sunlight that we need, you add in a vitamin D. Vitamin D, most medical doctors will recommend 2,000, 3,000 every single day. You want to shoot for at least 5,000 a day of vitamin D. And if you can, 8,000 a day is like optimal for where we live. People think that's crazy. That's way too much. Get your vitamin D levels checked. If you have vitamin D levels, and please write this down. So everyone grab a pen, check your vitamin D levels. If they're below 40, they are awful. If they are below 60, they're okay. So 40 to 60 is okay. 40 to 70 is okay. I want to see most people at or above 70 for your vitamin D levels. And if you ask your doctor, hey, what do you want to see? If somebody's sick, say somebody has cancer, what do you want to see their vitamin D levels at? Most of the time they want them above 90 or 100. And so vitamin D is very critical for our immune support. It's very critical for a lot of functions. Essential fatty acids, you want to add in a good fish oil if you're not getting enough fats from your food. So like every morning I add coconut oil into my coffee or into my protein shake, or my smoothie. My son gets a spoonful of coconut oil and ghee and he loves it. you want to add those fats in wherever you can, and animal fats are much better. So when we get steak, when we get grass-fed steak, I'm eating the fat from the steak. When we get the eggs, I'm eating the yolks from the eggs. You want that fat in your diet. It's good for you. All of your cells and all of your nerves actually need fat that cover them to keep them safe and protected. Probiotics are good, but you can also get it from foods. So fermented foods, great for your body. Kimchi, sauerkraut, kombucha. We brew our own kombucha. So we have probably 6 or 7 big gallon jars that go on rotation. So we have a gallon every week. And it's got great bacteria and probiotics for your body. So with all of the toxins that we've been talking about, all the bad things that your body takes, all of the stressful things that you absorb, you take into your body, how do you get rid of them if you have too much? You change that so you don't keep putting them in, but also you want to support detoxing through your liver. And your liver is really what detoxes your body the most. Your skin will, your lymph nodes will as well, so you can sweat things out, and then also your GI system, so you can excrete things, excrete toxins. And so to support detoxing in your body, there's several different things that you can do. Detox baths are really great once a week or so, where you can either do Epsom salts, you can detox with coconut oil in the bath, you can do clay in the bathtub, you can do baking soda in the bathtub. All of those things help to pull stuff out of your system, and then they help your body get rid of it. Supplements like iodine is great for hormonal supplements, but it's also great to help your body detox. Liposomal C, very easily absorbed C. Apple cider vinegar in your water every day helps your body detox regularly. You can do a castor oil liver detox, where you take, and you can search this online, it's pretty easy to find. You take castor oil, you soak a cheesecloth in castor oil, you put it over your liver, so over your right quadrant, over your liver, put a towel over that, and then you put a heating pad over that, and you do it 20 minutes, about 2 or 3 times a week, and it helps your liver to start pulling stuff out of there. And so if you've ever been told that you have a fatty liver, your liver is overloaded with toxins and crud pretty much. So it needs that oil change. It needs it fixed. And the castor oil detox packs help quite a bit. Biggest thing though, sweat. Go exercise, go sit in a sauna for 30 minutes, do something that is going to make your body purify itself and sweat some junk out. And then also they're showing that red light therapy or low level laser therapy are helping people detox. And there's a lot to look into that. It's not very new, but it's relatively new on how light therapy affects the body. Just like when we talked about blue light glasses or blue light filtering glasses, they're starting to show how much light affects us negatively or positively. And so red light is something that can affect us in a positive way. But there's a lot of things to help your body detox. These are just some of them, and these are just some of my favorite ones. So this is much more of like my personal, what do I do to help my body detox, and what do I recommend to my patients? There are many, many, many more. And so if you guys, you're wondering for you, or if you have questions on something, email me. I am not doing very much, but chasing around 2 kids these days. Send me an email, and I usually respond within a day or 2. Unless it's to set up this lecture, then I took forever to respond. I'm sorry about that, Sally. But this is just some of my favorite stuff to be able to do. So again, chronic stress is something that is very negative to our body. We want to try to eliminate it. The last piece of the puzzle is physical stresses. And again, this is something that people think of quite a bit. All of those micro traumas of our postural habits, how we're sitting, how we're slouching, work positions. This is something that you guys have probably heard at least once a year when you have a taking care of your back, taking care of your body lecture from somebody or speaker talk about this. Ergonomics, huge physical stress that you can have every day at work. But then we also can add in all those macro traumas of car accidents, past falls, slips. Something that I personally know is birth trauma. Carrying a baby and having a baby are stressful to your body, but it's also stressful for the baby. All of those things add up. And so you want to take care of your body too. And that's a lot of times where, like, me as a chiropractor comes in, physical therapy, massage therapy, all three of those things are great to do. I have a massage therapist that I see regularly, and I have 2 physical therapists that I will go see regularly. It's all about taking care of your body, and it's just good to do because we are always exposed to physical stresses. But when we talk about chiropractic too, it's not just the stress that you get on your muscles, your skeleton. It's also the stress that you can get on your nerves, which is a lot of times why people come and see chiropractors, is because something's actually hurting. If something hurts, a nerve is irritated somewhere, and you have to figure out why that is or where that is. But when we talk about those nerves too, your nerves control your entire body. So when we said earlier, when something's telling your body to constantly digest, you don't have to think of it. It's your brain telling your body through your nervous system. When you get a cut and it needs to heal, your nerves are telling your body how to heal that. And so if you have something going on through that nervous system, it can affect how well you heal and how well your body recovers. All of these things are impacted through your nervous system. That chart on the right shows just where some of those nerves go. You can see you have nerves that go to your heart. You have nerves that go to your lungs, nerves that go to your stomach, nerves that go to your liver, gallbladder, digestive organs, reproductive organs, sinuses, everything. It's not just about where those nerves go that cause pain. Nerves that cause pain almost always have a nerve that correlates to some sort of organ too. And so a lot of times when people have headaches, they almost always have sinus issues, eye issues, or ear issues. It's just what that nerve correlates to. Or low back issues, digestive issues, reproductive issues, almost every single time. But so one thing, if you look at this chart on the right, those yellow nerves, and hopefully you guys can see my mouse, these yellow nerves, those are nerves that are those fight or flight nerves. Those are the nerves that speed things up in our body. They speed up our heart rate, they speed up our breathing, they downregulate our immune system, they downregulate our digestive system. And then the nerves in the blue are our resting and digesting nerves. Those are the ones that calm us down. So when something stressful happens, these yellow nerves are very, very irritated and they fire, fire, fire. And when we need to heal, we need these blue nerves to fire. And so what happens when you have an issue with your upper neck? Those blue nerves are never really going to recover your heart, your lungs, your sinuses, your eyes very well. When it's something with your low back, if you have chronic low back issues, every time you're stressed out, those nerves that need to heal your digestive system are never really going to work very well. And it's just a different way to think about that recovery and apply it specifically to you. If you have chronic mid-back issues, that's one thing. If you have chronic neck issues, that's one thing. But when you think about it, how it actually affects neurologically in your body and why potentially you always have sinus issues or why potentially you always have digestive issues, look at what else goes on, pay attention to your body and kind of see. And a chart like this shows that very well as to what you could do or like what could potentially affect it. Chiropractic works great, massage works great, physical therapy work great. They all work better together, I will tell you that. And then one of the last things I'll talk about is actually this chart on the left. And so in probably the last 15, 20 years, doctor started coming out with this green nerve. And so over here on the right, there's that blue nerve. That's your vagus nerve. Your vagus nerve is your 10th cranial nerve. It's one of the biggest nerves in your body. Comes out right from your brainstem and goes to a lot of different areas. But that vagus nerve, we always thought it was just a fight or flight or resting and digesting. They started showing that your vagus, where that green is, has a social vagus. And so when I say social vagus, it means that social things that happen to us actually train that vagus nerve on how it should respond, which is to me very, very interesting because I love this stuff. But that social vagus, could be if you've had years of trauma for something, there's a reason why your body never recovers. Or if you constantly were exposed to stress at work, why your body never recovers. And it plays such a crucial factor into stress and how your body heals. And that's a way that people never really understood before why it doesn't. That stress that we're constantly exposed to mentally, physically, emotionally, all affects us in some sort of social interaction. And it's going to have a detrimental effect on that vagus nerve, which, if you see in that chart on the right, is one of those healing nerves to pretty much every single one of the organs between our neck and our belly. And it's just something that's really important to be able to heal. And so that's a lot of times where people just have to start managing their stress. They have to start taking care of their bodies, because if you don't now, it's just going to keep getting worse. So interesting stuff to me. And so these are charts that we kind of already talked about, but all of those things add up, over again. I will tell you 1,000 times that it's not just one thing. It's not just two things. It's all of the things that add up. So if you guys can eliminate one thing, you are doing amazing. If you can eliminate two, even better. If you can start to change your lifestyle every day, just those habits over time build up, just like habits over time, if they're negative, affect us. And so you really want to try just a couple of those things regularly and, change them for your whole family. Don't just change them for you, change them for your kids, change them for your spouse, change them for your coworkers or your friends, to make them just a little bit better. And so one of the things too, if you guys have questions or concerns about something going on physically with your body, if you want to have a chiropractor look at you. I'm not back in the office for probably another month or so, but we have 3 other chiropractors there. They're all amazing. From listening to these lectures, we always offer free consults, x-rays, exams, to any of you guys if you want to go in. We're in Fairlawn. When I was doing a lot of stuff for Portage County, it was a little different. But with Summit County, it should be easier for people to come in, because we are a little bit closer. But if you guys have questions or concerns, seriously, shoot us an email, call the office, and you guys can come get checked out. If you want to wait a couple weeks to see me, go ahead, but they're there for you when you need them. So again, if you have questions, shoot an email or let me know.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Aubree. If you could, round of applause. I see a couple of you already started. If anybody has any questions, feel free, put that in the chat. And we can go from there. Look at all those people clapping for you. Great job.
Thanks,
we appreciate it. Just wanted to announce the winner of our gas card for this month, Derek. I know, Derek, you're still on here, so you need to touch base with Sally, and she will send you a gas card as the winner and full participant for the month. So every month we're giving away a gas card just for you guys that are coming. So we appreciate it. I'm not seeing any questions. If you do have any questions, we have a hand raised. Holly, I don't know if it was your hand that was raised, but Holly have you come across any research about the safety and health implications of consuming animal products containing elevated cortisol and other stress hormones from animals that experience fight or flight at the time of their death or when their eggs were collected?
So very similar to what they eat. If an animal is fed corn and it's really bad in omegas, you're going to consume those. You will get some of the cortisol from animals, from them being killed, if they did it in a non-humane way. Or if the animal lived in a really poor condition and they were chronically stressed, you're going to get some of that too. The one thing I haven't seen is how much of that cortisol affects our body in the same way human cortisol does. So that's the one thing that I'm more of, how does that work? But I haven't seen a lot on it, but you will absorb some of that.
Awesome. Diane, I know you have a question. If you want to unmute and ask Dr. Aubree, you could do that. And if not, you can put it in the chat if you don't have a microphone. And if you need to unmute the bottom left, you can unmute. Oh, she's gone. She's gone. Oh, she's down there. Her hand went down though. If you do have a question, Diane, feel free to unmute or put it in the chat there. I am gonna, let's show my screen just for the last thing. We do have next month. February 18th, we're going to have Michael Kerr from MakeSolve talk about hazard communication. Is that showing right? Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
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 Okay, thank you. And he's really fun to listen to because he has this really cool British accent and he has a lot of really good information. So feel free to join us a little bit early as we do some networking. We'll try to do a question around, I don't know, SDSs or chemicals or something like that. I don't know if you guys just saw in the news, I saw today at a Cracker Barrel, there was a container that was water that was mixed with some sort of bleach cleaner, and they didn't label it, and some customers had gotten it, and there was a big lawsuit about that. So there's a reason why HazCom is very important. So with that, if there are no other